And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jordan Pugh, our buddy here, he's going to keep it real. Jordan, good morning, buddy.
What's going on? How you doing, man?
I'm good. So I'm going to start off this segment.
Okay.
I think it's going to put you in a good mood, or maybe it'll make you angry. We're about to find out. Okay?
Okay.
So earlier on the show, we had our friend Jamie McCoy on. Were you listening?
No, I was not.
Oh, I see how it is. Oh, thank you. You just listen to yourself. All right. So here's the deal. He talked a little bit about you, and I hope the clip works.
As he normally does.
Yeah, he talked about you. He was very friendly, very friendly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's see if you, want to respond to this from Jamie McCoy.
And then when you talk to Jordan Pugh a little later, say he still can't handle me. Me and Jordan used to have a little feud going back when we were playing. I used to beat him in all the drills. He may try to deny it. Tell him he's still little bro. I love what he's doing on his segment, and don't be scared to reach out.
All right. We may have to clip that and play that for Jordan Pugh a little bit, because I don't think I could do it as poetically as you did.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing to me how every single year he brings my name up, right? It's usually the people who have adverse effects. They usually lose to you. They usually have detrimental things that happen to them, man, where they always remember the things that tormented them. And they just can't let it go. But it's okay. I mean, I'm saying I love Jamie. I understand that, he was one of the best players that came through, but he just wasn't better than me. I was better than him at everything. Weight room, speed, quickness, ball skills, you name it. It's okay, Jamie. You did your thing. But there's a reason why there's an elite level and there's a good level. I belong on that upper echelon. It's all right, man. I still got love for him. He's my Aggie brother, everything. But it's okay. It's funny how I never mention his name, but he always mentions mine. I still love you, Jamie. And anytime you're ready to lace him up, you let me know.
I had a feeling you'd have a response like that. Jordan, I think, I might be wrong here. I think you and I look at football, you're way smarter than me. I don't mean that, okay? Like, especially football. But I think we have a similar wavelength when we look at how the game plays out. So I looked at Saturday's game, and I came out like I was in a 12-round fight. Like, as a fan and an analyst, I looked at that game like, man, that game was hard, man. That hurt. And maybe I didn't show my emotion in post-game, but I really thought I was so happy that they won, but that was a tough one for me. How did you kind of internalize Saturday's performance?
I thought it was a good performance. I thought it was a gritty performance by us, right? We have some adverse situations, man, in the opening game against Notre Dame, against Bowling Green, but this was a real adverse situation with the SEC opponent. You can call it a neutral site, but you can still call it a road game. I'm not surprised because we talked about it last week, how I said this could be a trap type scenario, right? Arkansas, they had a dynamic quarterback, dynamic run game. We were able to stifle that, but there were still situations, man, where you're fighting a gritty football team. And that makes you have to be gritty. It makes you have to dig deep. And that's what we saw from the team this weekend, man. I wasn't surprised by the outcome because what we do with Arkansas every year, it seems like it's down to the wire no matter what happens. Every single year, it's just that team. They know us too well. They have our number, but we found a way to win. And the way that we won was by pounding the rock at the end. That's the point. That's the thing that I love the most. So it was gritty. It was tough. I think that's something that helps define you in your season, who you are, your identity. But going in, I knew this was going to be tougher than what people thought. You got the fight that was expected, and we were able to come out on top.
Jordan, when you look at this team, every week we've talked about if you take away that big play, it's going to feel completely different. You take away that big. This was another example of that. Two big plays by Arkansas.
Yep.
That being said, take away the big plays or take away the first quarter. They gave up 3 points. Tell me about what you're seeing from this defense.
Defense travels. We always say that, man. Defense always travels, right? And so when you're looking at Elko, you're looking at his defense. You're looking at how our defensive line is starting to wreak havoc on games. Your boy Nick Scorton stood out, man. He made his presence felt. The defense is keeping us in games. It's allowing us to be able to control games on the offensive end. Now, everything is not going to be perfect. Sometimes you're just going to get beat, like on that first touchdown game. You just got beat. It is what it is. Sometimes you lose contain. Sometimes you fall down. Sometimes you don't fit the gaps. But defensively, we've been sound. Defensively, we played fast. Defensively, we've been physical. And now you're starting to see the pressures come. You're starting to see the sacks come. You're starting to see the defensive line starting to make their presence felt. You saw Nick with a few of the big plays he had. Stewart, I think, with that fumble on the exchange, on that zone read exchange in the game. You're seeing all that stuff take place, and it's allowing our offense to get short fields. It's allowing our offense to play ahead, and it's allowing them to dictate the tempo of the game. So the defense, man, is really, really standing up. They're standing strong. But I expected that coming with Elko coming in, a defensive guy who's known for his hay on the defense. You're seeing his blueprints within the defense. You're seeing him mix and match the schemes really well. And I think they have positioned the players in the right way to allow them to make plays, but most importantly, excel from a defensive standpoint.
One of the things Coach Elko said yesterday was if you look at his history coaching, year one to year two, you see a lot less big plays happening because you learn the system. He's not suggesting that it's going to take a whole season for it, but give me a defensive back's mindset or just the thought process behind it, like why it takes some time for the defense to get on the same page from a communication standpoint to limit some of these big plays.
It's the communication, what you just said. It's understanding the checks and the schemes. Each defensive coach is different on how they want to check and adjust to certain formations that the offense presents. But it's also understanding the fit. One coach may want to run a certain way. Another coach comes in and wants to fit it this way. One guy may want to spill. One guy may want to hammer. The way they want to run zones, the way they want to run match concepts. It takes time to get comfortable, right? Especially when you have new people coming in now with the transfer portal. You're trying to get to know guys. You're trying to get to understand how people think. Man, you're trying to build chemistry to where you know where that guy will fit. All that stuff plays a factor. So when you see guys in programs and teams usually jump from year one to year two, it's more so understanding fully now what that coach wants, what he expects, but also what your teammate next to you is going to do. There were certain times when I would play, I would look at how guys would stand. I'm like, okay, I know where he's going. And you just bounce off of that. It's a chemistry. It's a flow to this thing. And that's why you see that big jump. But defensively, though, the reason why defenses usually are better than offenses initially is because at the end of the day, it's a savage mentality. It's see ball, get ball at the end of the day, right? And you want guys who will hunt, who are physical, and who will cause chaos. And that's why you see that stuff translate. But from a defensive standpoint, man, it's a lot of the communication, the cohesiveness as a unit, but most ultimately understanding what that coach is trying to accomplish within that scheme.
All right, let's talk about going to Hunt. All right, who is Hunter? Give me some Hunters on that defense. What have you seen from some guys that have that mindset that you're talking about?
Well, I'll tell you what, Will Lee's really been impressing me lately. At the beginning of the season, I had my doubts on him, man, but the more and more I watch him, you see a guy who's starting to get comfortable. He's starting to understand where his help is. He's starting to build that confidence on the edge at corner, man. I really think he's doing his thing. I think you see Nick Scorton, man, coming in and really starting to make his presence felt. That guy that we saw at Purdue, we're starting to see that guy now at Texas A&M. And now that's starting to show his head. And he's really starting to create chaos in that pocket, which is bringing Shamar Stewart along. Shamar Stewart is starting to pop. And so now you're seeing these guys, man, they're really starting to create chaos for offenses. And you got Will Lee at the corner position, man, that's being able to lock down guys on the outside. Of course, our safeties, I think all of our safeties have been playing phenomenal. I think every single one of them, from Brooks to Ratcliffe to Bryce Anderson, you name it. I think all three have been doing their thing. And you're looking at guys who are seeking the ball. They're great tacklers in space, and they have really good ball skills. And then we can even talk about Ricks coming on in this past game against Arkansas. What you were seeing is a group of individuals who are starting to come together as a unit, but you also see a group of individuals that are starting to fully understand what Elko and Bates are trying to do defensively. And now it's starting to slowly stack each and every week, and you're seeing it from the D-line down to the secondary now.
Jordan, how does that translate, all right, what you're seeing from this defense against a team like Mizzou that can score?
Yes.
But here's the thing, Brady Cook ain't going to move like Taylor Green, but Brady Cook can read, right? He can make the right throws. So how does it translate against a team that's got, some play? Luther Burden's going to be the best player that they probably faced this year.
I was about to say this is going to be our biggest test of the year. So up to date. When you look at the receiver position, you got Luther Burden, and you got Theo Weeds at the receiver position. I think they really got three dynamic playmakers. You got a quarterback who can distribute the football. What has been the game plan against Texas A&M every single week so far? Get the ball out fast, catch the ball, release the ball. Quick 3-step drops, movement, sprint outs, boots, waggles, because we can't let that D-line get going, right? So now this is a case where our D-line can really start to shine. because you have a guy who's going to sit in the pocket. You have a guy who really just wants to distribute and is not going to beat you athletically. So now we can fire off and we can tee off. That now goes into what we'll do in the secondary. But what I want to see this week is I want to see a lot more guys in man coverage. I want to see a lot more guys pressing the point, and I want to see our secondary allow our D-line to get to the quarterback. A lot of people want to go backwards, and they want the D-line to create pressure, which will open up more opportunities for the defensive backs to make more plays on the ball. But the way that teams are playing us, we have to be able to create that opportunity for our D-line. Because people want to get the ball out quick. The way that you stifle that is you get up, you press right now, you take away the initial read from the quarterback, allow him to hold the ball. That's what I want to be able to see, and I think that'll be the game plan going in this week. I think that our D-line has the opportunity to really showcase itself. I think you can see all NFL guys across the board on our D-line really start showcasing their talent in this game. But from an athletic standpoint, these are the best athletes that we've seen offensively all year long, and I think that's going to be the biggest test for us this week.
All right, Jordan, let's talk a little offensively. Quarterback position, I'm not going to hit the same talking point I hit with KBTX, but I'm just going to kind of leave it like this. To me, Marcel Reed, the one thing that I'm really like, I want to see Connor still, but the way he handled his fourth quarter after having a subpar game, I thought, like, even though he wasn't the storyline in the fourth quarter, he made the throws that he had to, which opened up Le'Veon Moss.
We've had 3 games with Marcel. And he had the really high game against Florida, so-so against Bowling Green, good against Arkansas. The one thing that Marcel can do is he can get you out of bad situations with his feet. And the more and more I watch Marcel, the more and more I'm like, this might need to be the guy moving forward for the rest of the year. Because even though we may be out of rhythm, which I thought offensively throughout the entire game, we were just out of rhythm. I don't think we played bad as an offense. I just think that we would do something really well. We would do something bad. We would do something well, do something bad until that fourth quarter came. But Marcel allows you to keep the drives alive with his feet. And that's something that is special, right? I just think overall offensively, man, we're starting to find our stride. We're starting to find a little bit of an identity with Marcel at the helm. Now that we got a 3-game sample size, the run game is really starting to take over, and we're really starting to dominate people in the fourth quarter. That's what you want to see. When you have to put teams away, when you have to put games away, we can rely on that run game with Le'Veon, with the offensive line pushing forward. And that's really going to help a young guy in Marcel be able to make key throws, to be able to have the confidence to know that he can lean on something else when he's not playing at his best. So, man, I'm really interested in seeing how this thing plays out with Marcel at the helm. The more and more I see him, the more and more I'm starting to like him, but the more and more I see what the offense can be with him, especially with the athleticism he possesses with his feet.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Regardless if it's Marcel or Connor, when the offensive line is able to do what they're doing, and look, honestly, before I get to the offensive line, this will be part of it. Yep. But teams are going to keep putting a bunch of dudes in the box, right? And for some reason, in some way, shape, or form, this offensive line seems to be better at the end of games. And to me, that's like, which obviously opens up a lot of what Le'Veon's doing.
I think that's a lot. The reason why you see that is because that's a lot of just adjustments that we make right throughout the game. That's a lot of schematics too. Going into the game, you got most guys that like to put scripts together. They like to see what the defense is doing. They want to get a feel for the game. The one thing that we've done, and this goes as for the team aspect, from what we talked about earlier with the defense, how the defense allows us to dictate what we want to do offensively, is because they are keeping us in the games and we're never getting out of reach when we're starting off slow offensively. The reason why we get better as an offense, because the games are in reach, but now we have figured out the tempo and we figured out the scheme of the defense throughout the game now, which means we can adjust protections, we can adjust who we attack offensively, and it allows Klein to get into a flow. One of the things that I've noticed so far throughout the entire season is we tend to start slower on offense. But I think a lot of that has to do with what we want to do as far as attacking the defense. I think Klein wants to get a feel for the defense. I think he wants to see how they're playing us, whether it's a too high shell, a heavy box, however he goes about that. And then the adjustments made along the way, you start to see us progress and move forward and really excel. So I think a lot of that is schematic from our end, but also it's the maturity factor. Guys that have played for a period of time, the cohesion within the group, you're seeing that take over as games go later on, further on into the fourth quarter.
And then the wide receivers, look, it feels like each game there's a new guy auditioning to be the guy, right? Like you had Cyrus Allen game this past game. It was obviously Noah Thomas. What are you seeing from that group collectively?
I see a group that's inconsistent. I see a group that can make a big play one time, then they fail to get open on the next play. I see a group that is just inconsistent right now. It's not ability, it's the consistency factor. The one thing that I'll say, man, I've been a big Moose guy. To me, that is the guy that every time I see him in there, he's making plays. And I think he brings the big play factor, which allows us to allows our guys to open up and play freely, more one-on-one matchups with the rest of our receivers. I just think that we have got to find a core group. You got to find a guy within the group that can take the top off the defense. You got to find the possession receiver, and you have to find the physical receiver within the group. And I think we're still mixing and matching and trying to find what that core is as far as the receiver group. It's just the inconsistencies right now, and I think that's slowing down the progression of the offense. But they always make plays when it's needed to be made. That's the one thing I can say about this group. So we got to find the core group. We got to find those guys who provide the cohesion for Marcel, but they got to be able to make plays consistently. That's what's killing us offensively right now.
So something that's been consistent has been the tight ends. Maybe not a big volume of catches, but they are used in a way that are backbreakers, right? 3 straight games with a touchdown. When you think about some of the talent they have at tight end and potentially linebackers that have to cover up with them, what do you like that you're seeing from that group?
I see a diverse group that's built on blocking first. So when you look at our run game, a lot of it has to do with the tight end type look, being able to seal edges. But also you're seeing a safety net. The way that we're using our tight ends is in a safety net fashion for Marcel. But that safety net fashion comes in big spurts and big plays. You see a lot of seam routes down the middle of the field. You see a lot of intermediate pass game or passing concepts where Marcel can hit them whenever he's in a bind. You're seeing guys that just make plays and they're steady. To me, they have been a key factor in the success that we've had offensively because they have opened up big time runs by sealing edges, but also they have gotten us out of binds. Anytime that we've been flat or Marcel can't find an open receiver, we've been able to find that safety net. So I think they've been key in our success offensively. I would like to see a little bit more use of them. I would like to see a little bit more movement of the pocket to be able to get them in space a little bit more. But they have been a key role and key to our success offensively.
All right, so you feel good about this matchup against Mizzou? Do you feel like the way the defense is playing and maybe some of the highs or maybe just overall offense that we've seen, do you feel good about this matchup?
I feel good about the matchup because we're a more physical football team than Missouri is. That's what I think. Watching them play, I think they want to be a finesse team, finesse ball. They have the capability of being a physical team, but I don't know if they want to play that way because of the talent that they have on the outside offensively. Defensively, or speaking of them defensively, I think we overpower them on the offensive line. I think we may be even in skill set as far as the skilled players, our receivers, their DBs, that kind of thing. Our advantage is the run game and the offensive line. Defensively, this is where the game is going to turn for us. We've got to be more physical than they are. I think that we can dominate their offensive line. I think that we have to be great tacklers in space this week. Their receivers are dynamic and they're great playmakers. They're going to try and get the ball into their playmakers' hands in space quickly within 5 to 7 yards. How do we handle that? Can we press? Can we tackle in space? Can we make the great open field plays that we need to make from a defensive back standpoint? That's the key to me. We're more physical than them, but we can't get into a track meet because that's the game that they want to play.
Jordan, great stuff, buddy. We'll talk to you very soon, all right?
All right, man. Let's do it.
See you, man.